The night was quiet at the Zylaxian Deep Space Monitoring Station, a massive circular structure floating silently among countless stars. Most alien beings would have found the station boring. Rows of blinking screens, endless streams of data, and technicians watching for the smallest hint of something interesting. But this night would be different. This night would change everything. Chief Science Officer Krulax sat in his usual spot, his four-fingered hands moving slowly across the control panel. His large eyes, which could see colors humans couldn't even imagine, scanned the multiple screens in front of him. He had been working at this station for 287 standard galactic cycles, and most of those cycles had been mind-numbingly boring. Routine. Predictable. The screen to his far left suddenly flickered. Most would have missed it. A tiny blip, barely visible, lasting less than a second. But Krulax was different. His species was known for catching the smallest details, and this blip caught his attention immediately. "Computer," he spoke in a calm voice, "replay the last 0.03 seconds of Sector 7B monitoring grid." The massive computer system hummed. Holographic images began to dance around Krulax, showing multiple angles of the same tiny signal. It was coming from a small blue planet in a relatively unimportant solar system. Earth, a planet that most galactic researchers considered primitive and uninteresting. But this signal was anything but ordinary. The transmission carried a complexity that made no sense. It was like finding a perfectly designed machine in the middle of a random jungle. The signal had layers upon layers of information, encrypted in ways that shouldn't be possible for a species that was still using fossil fuels and fighting wars over imaginary borderlines. Krulax leaned closer. His breathing stopped for a moment. The signal was mathematical, precise, and carried an intelligence that suggested something remarkable was happening on that small blue planet. "Activate Deep Scan Protocol," he commanded. The station's massive scanning arrays began to move, turning their attention specifically to Earth. Millions of sensors started collecting data, probing through the planet's atmosphere, looking for the source of this mysterious signal. What they found was even more shocking. The signal wasn't just a random burst of energy. It was a carefully constructed message, hidden within what seemed like ordinary background noise. Most monitoring systems would have completely missed it. But the Zylaxian technology was different, designed to catch even the smallest whisper of potential communication. Krulax's junior assistant, a young technician named Zorin, walked up and looked over his shoulder. "Sir, is something wrong?" Krulax didn't immediately respond. His mind was racing. This signal suggested that the planet called Earth was not what their previous reports had described. Something big was happening. Something that could change everything they knew about emerging civilizations. "Zorin," he finally said, his voice steady but filled with an unusual excitement, "prepare a full report for the Galactic Research Council, and make sure every single detail is documented. What we're seeing, it's not normal." The young assistant looked confused, but quickly began preparing the documentation. He had no idea that this moment would become a turning point in galactic history. Outside the monitoring station, stars continued to shine. Galaxies continued their slow, endless dance. But something had changed. A small blue planet, previously ignored and underestimated, had just sent a message that would shake the foundations of everything the galactic civilization believed they knew. The Galactic Confederation's main command ship hung in space like a massive silver tear. Its curved halls were usually calm, filled with beings from hundreds of different planets who had worked together for thousands of years. But today, something was different. Something was wrong. Admiral Xelterra stood in the center of the main control room, her three eyes narrowing, as she studied the incoming reports about Earth. Her long fingers moved quickly across the holographic display, pulling up image after image of the mysterious blue planet. "This cannot be right," she muttered to herself. The reports were crazy. Earth, a planet they had marked as low development for centuries, was showing signs of technological capabilities that made no sense. Satellite networks crisscrossed the planet like a complex spider web. Underground facilities appeared and disappeared, their construction and purpose changing faster than any monitoring system could track. Captain Lorik, Zelterra's top intelligence officer, walked up with a digital pad in his hands. His skin was pale green, and his movements were quick and nervous. "Admiral," he said, "you need to see this." The holographic display changed. Now it showed multiple images of human technology, quantum computers that seemed to break all known rules of information processing, communication networks that could redirect and encrypt messages in milliseconds, weapon systems that could adapt to threats faster than any known technology in the galaxy. "How is this possible?" Zelterra whispered. The humans had been doing something incredible. While other civilizations were busy fighting old wars and following strict technological development paths, these humans were breaking all the rules. They were innovative. They were unpredictable. A young technician named Zora brought up another set of images. "Look at their internet," she said excitedly. "It's not just a communication network. It's like a living, breathing system of knowledge exchange." The images showed people from different parts of the planet sharing information instantly. A scientist in one country could solve a problem with help from someone on the other side of the world in just minutes. Their ability to learn and adapt was mind-blowing. Admiral Zelterra felt a chill run down her spine. This wasn't just about technology. This was about something deeper. The humans had created a system that allowed them to grow and change faster than any species the Confederation had ever seen. "Prepare the diplomatic vessels," she commanded. Her voice was calm, but there was an edge of something else. Was it fear? Excitement? Maybe both. Captain Lorik looked surprised. "Diplomatic vessels. But we don't even know if they're ready for first contact." Zelterra's three eyes locked onto him. "Exactly. We need to understand them before they become something we can't control." The command ship began to move. Massive engines hummed to life, preparing to approach the solar system that contained Earth. Hundreds of alien species watched and waited, sensing that something big was about to happen. In meeting rooms across different planets, leaders discussed the emerging situation. Some were worried. Some were excited. But everyone knew one thing. The humans were different. They were something new. Outside the ship, stars continued to shine. Galaxies continued their silent dance. But everything was about to change. The humans were coming, and nobody knew exactly what that meant. Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat in her small office at the research center, surrounded by computer screens that flickered with endless lines of code. Outside her window, the city of San Francisco buzzed with life. But inside, something extraordinary was happening. She wasn't alone. Sitting next to her was Dr. Akira Tanaka, a computer scientist from Tokyo. On another screen, Dr. Mohammed Al-Fayed from Cairo joined their video call. They were part of a secret global network, scientists from different countries working on something that could change everything. "Look at this," Elena said, pointing to a complex algorithm on her screen. The algorithm was unlike anything they had seen before. It was a piece of artificial intelligence that could learn and adapt faster than any existing system. Most amazing. It was designed to solve global problems, not just in one field, but across multiple areas like climate change, medical research, and energy production. Akira leaned closer to his screen. "This is impossible," he muttered. But it wasn't impossible. It was happening right in front of them. Thousands of miles away, in a hidden research facility deep under the Rocky Mountains, another team was working on something equally incredible. They were developing quantum communication systems that could send information instantly across impossible distances. The old rules of physics didn't seem to apply anymore. Back in Elena's office, the international team continued their work. What made them special wasn't just their intelligence. It was how they worked together. They didn't care about borders or old political fights. They cared about solving problems. Meanwhile, in the alien monitoring stations scattered across different star systems, something strange was happening. The Zylaxian researchers realized that human beings were doing something unique. Their internet was more than just a communication tool. It was like a massive, living brain. Millions of people were sharing knowledge every second. A student in Brazil could learn from a professor in India. A doctor in Africa could get advice from a specialist in the United States. Information moved faster than anyone had ever thought possible. The alien researchers watched in shock. Most civilizations developed technology slowly. They followed strict rules. They were careful. Humans were different. They were like wild, unpredictable children who somehow kept creating amazing things. Dr. Rodriguez and her team represented something the aliens had never seen before. Diversity wasn't just a word for them. It was a superpower. Different people, different backgrounds, different ways of thinking, all working together to solve big problems. On one of Elina's screens, a new algorithm began to take shape. It was designed to help predict and prevent natural disasters. Another screen showed a medical research project that could potentially cure multiple types of cancer. A third screen displayed a new energy solution that could reduce carbon emissions dramatically. Akira looked up and smiled. "We're not just doing science," he said. "We're changing the world." The alien researchers continued to watch. They realized something important. Humans weren't just developing technology. They were reimagining what was possible. In research centers, universities, and small labs around the world, thousands of brilliant minds were working. They didn't know they were being watched. They didn't know they were about to change everything. But they were ready. Humanity was about to show the universe something incredible. The next great adventure was just beginning. The Zylaxian Strategic Council chamber was dead silent. Holographic displays flickered with frightening images of human technological capabilities, casting strange blue shadows across the worried faces of the galaxy's top leaders. Grand Strategist Korvax stood at the center of the room, his tentacle-like fingers moving across a massive digital display. War simulations played out before their eyes, and each simulation ended the same way, with a result that made no sense. Humans were winning. Not just winning. Completely destroying everything the galactic civilizations thought they knew about warfare, technology, and survival. "This is impossible," muttered Counselor Zrenta, her voice shaking. She was the oldest member of the council, having seen hundreds of civilizations rise and fall. But humans were different. They were something completely new. The war simulation showed something incredible. When traditional military strategies were used against human defenses, the humans would adapt almost instantly. It was like they could read the attack before it even happened. Their communication networks, their artificial intelligence, their ability to work together, all of these created a defense system that was almost magical. In one simulation, a massive alien battleship approached Earth. Before the ship could even get close, hundreds of small satellites would dance around it. These weren't just normal satellites. They were smart. They could think. They could predict. They could attack in ways no one had ever seen before. Korvax zoomed in on another display. It showed human soldiers. But they weren't just soldiers. They were connected. Their helmets, their weapons, their entire systems were talking to each other faster than the speed of thought. One soldier could know exactly what another soldier was seeing, thinking, planning. They turned limitations into strengths, Korvax said quietly. The entire council looked at him. He pointed to another screen. It showed how humans dealt with problems. Most civilizations would give up when Major Sarah Chen stood in the underground control center, her eyes fixed on the massive wall of screens. Outside, most people had no idea what was about to happen. The world would change today, and only a few select people knew it. Around her, a team of international experts from different countries worked silently. An American computer scientist, a Russian engineer, a Chinese mathematician, a Brazilian network specialist. They weren't just colleagues. They were something more. Satellite network alignment in 3 minutes, announced Dr. Michael Rodriguez, his fingers dancing across multiple keyboards. The satellites weren't just machines. They were intelligent systems that could think, adapt, and communicate faster than any living being could understand. Each satellite was like a brain, connected to thousands of other systems across the planet. In space, hundreds of satellites began to move. To any normal observer, it might have looked like a random dance, but this was anything but random. Slowly, the satellites formed a perfect geometric pattern. Not just any pattern, a complex mathematical design that carried layers of encrypted information. Each movement was calculated with impossible precision. Each position told a story that no alien civilization could easily understand. Sarah took a deep breath. This wasn't just a demonstration of technological power. This was a message. Across different monitoring stations around the world, computer screens lit up. The pattern was being broadcast everywhere, not to be seen, but to be understood. It was a language beyond words, a language of mathematics, technology, and pure human creativity. In the Zylaxian monitoring station, Chief Science Officer Krulax watched in total shock. The satellite movement wasn't just precise, it was impossible. No civilization should be able to coordinate so many complex systems with such perfect timing. "This is a warning," Krulax whispered to his assistant. "They know we're watching." The satellite pattern continued to shift. Each movement told a different part of a complex story. It showed the aliens that humans could communicate in ways they had never imagined. It showed that Earth was not just a small, unimportant planet. Earth was something else entirely. Back in the control center, Sarah smiled. Just for a moment. This demonstration wasn't about showing off. It was about sending a clear message to anyone who might be watching. We are here. We are different. We are ready. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from his screens. "Transmission complete," he said quietly. The satellites began to return to their normal positions. To anyone watching from the ground, nothing special had happened. Just another day of technology doing its job. But in the vast darkness of space, alien civilizations were holding their breath. Something had changed, and nothing would be the same again. The aliens had expected a simple, predictable response. Instead, they got a mathematical poem written in the language of satellites, a message that said more in its silent movements than 1,000 spoken words could ever communicate. Humanity had just spoken, and the universe was listening. The coffee shop in downtown Seattle was packed with people, but nobody noticed the most important conversation happening right in the middle of the room. Jack Thompson, a computer programmer, sat next to Maria Rodriguez, a quantum physics researcher. They were talking about something big, something that would change everything. "So they're definitely watching us?" Maria asked, stirring her latte. Jack laughed. "Not just watching. They're probably freaking out." On every screen around the world, people were sharing jokes about potential alien contact. Memes spread faster than any official communication. Teenagers were creating entire online communities dedicated to guessing what alien civilizations might be thinking about Earth. This was humanity's real superpower, not just technology, not just intelligence, but the ability to turn even the most serious situation into something unexpectedly funny. In the Zylaxian monitoring stations, alien researchers watched in complete confusion. Most civilizations would be scared if they thought someone was watching them. Humans were doing something completely different. They were treating a potential first contact like a massive, global joke. Online forums filled with wild theories. Some people suggested creating welcome signs for aliens. Others created elaborate memes about how humans would invite aliens to barbecues. Conspiracy theory websites went crazy. Social media exploded with creativity. "Imagine their faces," Jack said, laughing, "when they realize we're not scared. We're excited." The alien researchers couldn't understand this behavior. Where was the fear? Where was the panic? Humans were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to be worried. Instead, they were treating a potential galactic encounter like the most amazing adventure ever. Maria pulled out her phone and showed Jack a new meme. It showed an alien ship landing, with a human standing there saying, "Welcome." Want some pizza?" They both laughed so hard that people around them looked confused. What the aliens didn't understand was how human beings worked. They didn't just face challenges. They made fun of challenges. They turned fear into humor. They transformed potential threats into opportunities for connection. Across different countries, people were preparing in their own unique ways. In Brazil, people were planning alien-themed parties. In Japan, engineers were designing welcome robots. In India, scientists were preparing translation systems. In Africa, communities were discussing how to share their culture. No single group was doing the same thing. But they were all doing something amazing. The Xylaxian Strategic Council watched video feeds from Earth. Everywhere they looked, humans were showing something unexpected. Creativity, joy, zero fear. A young alien researcher named Zorin turned to her supervisor. "They're not normal," she said. "There's something else." Her supervisor just nodded. Humans were breaking every single rule about how a developing civilization was supposed to behave. They weren't just ready for first contact. They were eager for it. In the coffee shop, Jack looked at Maria. "We're going to have the most epic story in galactic history," he said. Maria just smiled. Humans were about to show the universe something incredible. And they were going to do it with a sense of humor that no alien civilization could ever understand. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, a hidden research facility hummed with an energy that felt almost alive. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the center of the main research hall, surrounded by technology that would have looked like magic to most people. "System check," she called out. Screens flickered to life. Holographic displays danced with complex mathematical equations. Quantum computers that looked like nothing more than small black cubes began to pulse with an inner light. This wasn't just a research center. This was the heart of humanity's most advanced technological development. Dr. Akira Tanaka walked in, his tablet showing impossible calculations. "The electromagnetic pulse network is ready," he said quietly. Most people would not understand what that meant, but it was something that could change everything. The facility was a perfect example of human innovation. Scientists from different countries worked together. No one cared about old borders or past fights. They cared about solving problems and pushing the boundaries of what was possible. In the Xylaxian monitoring stations, researchers watched in total shock. The human technology defied everything they knew about scientific development. Quantum communication systems that could send information instantly across impossible distances. Artificial intelligence that could learn and adapt faster than any known technology in the galaxy. One of the quantum computers began to solve a problem that would have taken traditional supercomputers thousands of years to complete. It did it in minutes. The calculations were so complex that most beings would have thought it impossible. But humans didn't believe in impossible. Dr. Rodriguez touched a small device on her wrist. Instantly, a holographic display appeared, showing real-time information from research centers around the world. A scientist in Brazil could instantly share data with a team in Japan. A researcher in Africa could collaborate with someone in the United States. Their technology was more than just machines. It was a living, breathing network of human intelligence. The alien researchers realized something important. Humans weren't just developing technology. They were reimagining what technology could be. Most civilizations developed technology slowly. They were careful. They followed strict rules. Humans were different. They were like wild, creative children who kept breaking all the rules and creating amazing things. Another system came online. This one could predict natural disasters with impossible accuracy. Another could help solve complex medical problems. Another could clean up environmental damage faster than anyone thought possible. Akira looked at Elena. "We're not just doing science," he said. "We're changing the world." The facility's defensive systems were equally impressive. Adaptive AI that could predict and neutralize threats before they even happened. Communication networks that could redirect and encrypt messages faster than the speed of thought. In space, satellites danced in patterns that no alien civilization could understand. On the ground, research centers like this one were pushing the boundaries of human potential. The Zylaxian Strategic Council watched their monitoring screens with a mix of fear and something else. Respect. Excitement. It was hard to tell. Humanity was showing the universe something incredible. They weren't just a developing civilization. They were something completely new. The next great adventure was just beginning. And nobody, not even the most advanced alien civilizations, was ready for what was coming next. The United Nations conference room was unlike any meeting space in history. Representatives from every corner of the world sat together, but this wasn't a normal meeting. This was something special. Ambassador Maria Gonzalez stood at the center of the room. She was from Brazil, but today she spoke for something bigger than any single country. She spoke for humanity. "We know they're watching," she said quietly. Her words carried across the room, calm but powerful. On the large screens around them, complex data streams showed information from research centers around the world. Satellite networks, communication systems, scientific discoveries. Each screen told a piece of a larger story. The alien civilizations had been studying Earth for years. They thought they understood humans. They were wrong. The diplomatic proposal Maria was about to present wasn't just a document. It was a complete reimagining of how different civilizations could work together. Most alien groups had rigid, old systems of communication. Humans were offering something completely different. "We don't want to fight," Maria continued. "We want to understand. We want to learn. We want to grow together." Behind her, a group of experts from different fields stood quietly. A quantum physicist from China, a climate scientist from Kenya, a computer engineer from India, a medical researcher from Russia. They weren't just colleagues. They represented something larger than themselves. The proposal was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of traditional diplomatic talks, humans were suggesting a new model of galactic cooperation, open information sharing, joint research projects, a system where different civilizations could learn from each other without fear. The Zylaxian Strategic Council watched the live transmission in total shock. Most civilizations would have approached first contact with fear. Humans were approaching it with curiosity, with hope, with an understanding that was far beyond their technological years. Dr. Akira Tanaka stepped forward. He began explaining the technical details of their proposal. But it wasn't a boring technical talk. It was a story of possibility, of hope, of what could happen if different civilizations truly worked together. The proposal showed something incredible. Humans didn't just see differences between civilizations. They saw opportunities. Climate change solutions that could help multiple planets. Medical research that could save millions of lives across different species. Communication technologies that could connect civilizations in ways nobody had ever imagined. "We are not perfect," Maria said, "but we are willing to learn. We are willing to grow." The alien researchers watching the transmission couldn't believe what they were seeing. This wasn't a weak civilization begging for attention. This was a group of beings offering a completely new way of thinking about galactic relationships. On the screens, data from human research centers continued to flow. Each piece of information was like a puzzle piece. Slowly, it was creating a picture of something remarkable. A young alien researcher named Zorin turned to her supervisor. "They're not trying to compete," she said. "They're trying to collaborate." Her supervisor had no answer. Humans were breaking every single rule about how a developing civilization was supposed to behave. As Maria finished her presentation, the room was silent, but it was a special kind of silence. The silence of possibility, the silence of something new about to begin. Humanity had just changed everything, and the universe would never be the same again. The sky above Earth seemed to split open. Massive alien vessels appeared, their surfaces shimmering with colors no human eye had ever seen before. But this wasn't an invasion. This was something else entirely. In the United Nations Emergency Command Center, Ambassador Maria Gonzalez stood calm and steady. Around her, the world's top leaders watched the screens. Military commanders, scientists, diplomats. They were ready for anything, except what was about to happen. The first alien communication came through, not as a threat, not as a declaration of war, but as a request to talk. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the quantum physicist who had been part of the secret research team, stepped forward. Her hands moved across a complex communication device. She wasn't scared. She was excited. "We are listening," she said simply. The alien vessels began to change. They weren't just ships. They were like living things. Complex mathematical patterns danced across their surfaces. Each pattern told a story. Each movement was a language beyond words. The Zylaxian grand strategist, Korvax, appeared on the main screen. His three eyes blinked in a way that seemed both strange and familiar. Most civilizations would have been terrified. Humans were different. "We want to understand," Korvax said. Those three simple words changed everything. Humans had done something no other civilization had ever done. They had shown that technological power wasn't about weapons. It wasn't about fighting. It was about communication, about understanding. Around the world, people watched live broadcasts. Instead of fear, there was curiosity, excitement, hope. In Tokyo, people were creating welcome signs. In Rio de Janeiro, scientists prepared research proposals. In Cairo, language experts started working on translation systems. In New York, artists began designing ways to share human culture. The alien vessels started sharing information. Not military secrets, not invasion plans, but scientific discoveries, medical breakthroughs, environmental solutions. Dr. Akira Tanaka from the Quantum Research Center looked at the incoming data. "This is impossible," he whispered, but nothing was impossible anymore. The information exchange was incredible. Alien technologies that could solve climate change. Human creativity that could help alien civilizations grow. Two completely different ways of thinking, coming together to create something new. Maria Gonzalez understood what was happening. This wasn't just first contact. This was the beginning of something much bigger. A young researcher named Jack Thompson looked at the screens and started laughing. "We told you we were awesome," he said to no one in particular. The alien vessels began to show images of their homeworlds. Planets humans had never imagined. Colors beyond human understanding. Civilizations that were both similar and completely different. Korvax spoke again. "We want to learn from you," he said. Those words would be remembered forever. The day when humanity proved that being different wasn't a weakness. It was the greatest strength of all. The sky continued to shine. The alien vessels remained, but something had changed forever. Humanity wasn't just a small planet anymore. They were something else entirely. A new chapter in galactic history had just begun. And nobody, not humans, not aliens, knew exactly what would happen next.